Hey tea heads, this is Don from Mayleaf. It's June 2024, and for me there is nothing that marks the beginning of the summer more than the release of Young Gushu. Young Gushu is our series of fresh, raw Maocha Gushu ancient tree pu'er tea, and I know it's anticipated by many people. A lot of people always ask, have you found your Young Gushu? Have you found your Young Gushu? And whilst the website at this time of year has a cascade of new releases from our spring harvest selection. So if you go to mayleaf.com, you can go to the just arrived section. You'll see loads of new releases from the 2024 spring harvest. There is something very special about the launch of Young Gushu. So I felt I needed to do a video to share this moment with you. I have actually tasted this tea already. So this is not, fresh off the bat. I know this tea quite well. I've had a couple of sessions with it, but I really wanted to introduce it to you so that you could learn more about this tea. But first, let's dive into what Young Gushu is. Young Gushu is our series of fresh, raw Maochas. So Maocha is raw, sort of unfinished tea, but it is finished. Basically, what the farmers do is they process the tea, they pick from Gushu, so ancient tea trees, over 200-year-old tea trees. They'll then go through the process of some withering. Then they'll go through the wok baking, the firing, then they'll go through rolling, then they'll go through sun drying. And from there, they'll sort out the huangpian, the yellow material, the yellow leaf, which is bigger leaf, which is reserved for, more affordable tea cakes. And then they'll take their prime pickings, and that's generally called Maocha because it's still loose. It's not been pressed into cakes. And then oftentimes what happens is the buyers, well, most of the time what happens is buyers like myself will go and we'll taste all these Maochas, and then we'll select some Maochas to press into cakes or blend some to press into blended cakes. And then those are the standard raw pu'er cakes that you'll see on the market. But what we like to do is celebrate the taste of this raw, loose tea from ancient tea trees, but drunk fresh. Now, this tea will continue to age, but it's not really designed for that. It's designed for you enjoying now. And the reason why I love this is it reminds me of the mountains. It reminds me of when we visit Yunnan and when we are sitting with the farmers, because this is the style of tea that they drink. So in homage to those amazing farmers in those amazing mountains with these incredible ancient trees, every year we select one tea that we're going to release as a loose tea for you to drink right now. You can age it. It will age perfectly well. It's not going to age the same as in cakes, but it's still going to age and mature and change. But really, we want to capture the verve, the vibrancy, and the spirit of how tea is drunk, how this tea is drunk in China, because raw pu'er tea is essentially a green tea. It's a sun-dried green tea, which then gets pressed and then is allowed to age and develop, which is why it's thrown under the post-fermented tea category. But in essence, it is a green tea. And so you should enjoy these green teas as well. So that's what we're doing. Let's warm up this. I don't know if I can call this a gai one. It's sort of an easy pour gai one. So you don't have to flip the lid to do anything like that because it's got holes in it. So you just literally fill it up and then pour through the holes. I'll call it an easy pour gai one for now. I haven't got a name for it. It's got a little toad head, as you can see. I think that's a toad. I reckon it is. Anyway, so let's warm up this beautiful new arrival as well. So we're getting loads of new stock in. This is a time that so much is coming in stock. So I really need to celebrate these times because we've done all of the sampling over the sort of February, March, April, tons and tons of tasting into May. I'm still tasting samples now, but finally they're arriving from the mountains, and I want to make sure that we celebrate them. Right, so as you can see, this just goes through the holes, so you don't have to do any fancy tilting. It's a very wide deep bowl, which is kind of cool because you know how I like to load up my gai ones. Wow, yeah, I like the look of that. Okay, so let's quickly scope this tea while these leaves are warming up. This is spring, April 2024. This is cultivar Daiyajong variety, big leaf variety, ancient tea trees. I can't remember the estimated age of these tea trees. It will be between 200 and 300-year-old tea trees estimated. So ancient tea trees, very, very important if you're not sure why age matters. I will put a link in the description below so you can check out that video. in Yunnan, so we talk about what Gushu means. The origin, this is a weird one. Ganlongtan village in Linsang in Yunnan in China. Now, I had never heard of this village before. Scouts send me teas from all over Yunnan, and I taste them blind, so we don't know which mountain it is. And I obviously was enamored by this tea, and immediately picked it as young Gushu. And there's a particular criteria that I look for young Gushu, which is a tea which is so good for drinking right now. It is just singing on all levels right now. And that's not easy to find, because most Maochas you taste and you go, okay, it's a bit raw, it needs development, it needs to be pressed, it needs to, have some time to settle. It's very hard to find a Maocha that is just primo right now, and so that's what we look for with these teas. So I was tasting blind and selected this tea instantly, and then found out that it was from a village called Ganlongtan, very high altitude, 2,800 meter altitude, up north of Linsang. So it's high up and it's further north, so cooler, and higher, so cooler. So it's going to be more cold growing. High altitude, Ganlongtan, never heard of it, but after tasting this tea, I'm definitely going to keep it on my radar. Okay, let's have a sniff of these dry leaves. So the immensity of creamy toffees and florals are coming through. So it's very bright. It's very pungent. It reminds me a little bit of autumn picked pu'er teas, and it's very vibrant in its smell. I'm getting the florals. I'm getting first of all, I'm getting toffees. I'm getting some cinnamon. I'm getting candy floss. So very sugar notes. I'm also getting cooked apricots in syrup. So maybe tinned apricots. And then the florals, it's not quite as intense as a lily. I'll throw it in the gardenia territory. So it's still very bright, it's very sweet, it's very vibrant, but a bit fresher. Oh, amazing. Take a look at these leaves in case you didn't get a good look. Slightly smaller, I would say, than your normal young Gushu, or our normal young Gushu selections, I would say. There's also this minerality coming through as well. So cooked apricots, candy floss, toffee, cinnamon, and like slate. But it's also got that uni quality that I got from Panikkati Pleasure Seeker. It's like a creamy minerality. So I'll throw it under sort of sea air, but it's not fishy at all. Right, let's use this water. Let's serve some water here. I do quite like this easy pour guy one. It has definitely got a quality to it. Right, here we go. Oh, it is incredibly bright and incredibly sweet. I'm getting face creams, flowery face creams. I'm getting tinned pears in syrup. So we had the cooked apricots in syrup, tinned pears in syrup. So fruit, but lots and lots of sugars as well. I'm getting creamy notes, like not quite custard, a bit brighter. I remember when I was tasting it, I got creme patisserie, or creme pat as they call it. So it's just a little bit brighter. It's sort of got that icing sugar lightness and brightness to the custardy quality of it. Really reminds me of autumn teas. And if you don't know about that, I'll put a link in the description below about the difference between autumn and spring teas. But autumn teas have an immensity in their aroma, very high, very bright, hits you at the top of your nose more. But then there are woody notes as well. Not woodsy, more like sweet herbs, like allspice, clove, the cinnamon I talked about before. Yeah, all there. So, but in the brighter territory. Flowers, sugary fruits, and then you've got the sort of spiced toffees, cinnamon toffees, and allspice, candy flossy kind of notes as well, and that custardy creme pat. It is a very, very unusual smell for a spring tea. And that's what set it apart for me when I tasted it as a sample. It was like, what's going on? It smells like an autumn tea. And that's again why I think that there's something about the cooler temperatures further north of Linsang. This is my guess, pure guesswork, right? Cooler temperatures, and 2,800 is very high up, right? So we're talking, and it's still picked in April, so it's not been left for the temperature to warm up. So it's still an April picked pu'er, but very high up, further north. And I think that cooler temperature just is bringing out a little bit more of those very bright aromatics. Okay, here we go. Let's see how this fills. It's got a little line, which is very useful to show me. And we're going to brew for about 25 seconds. I forgot a pet, as usual. My head is a bit scrambled, as many of you will know, going through a lot of personal stuff at the moment. But I feel like, you know, it's very important that I take time with tea to try to bring me in and focus, as we've always said, the power of tea to bring you into the moment. And these videos allow me to do that. So that's what I'm doing. Right, color of the liquor. Wow, very, very bright, very, very vibrant. Look at that. Oh, come on, focus. Don't do this to me. Look how vibrant and bright that is. Sort of like pear, green, yellow. Very, very nice. Okay, take that off, let that cool down, and let's look at the liquor here. It's got a good thickness to it. Let's focus on texture. Jellied. It's so thick it's jellied. It's soft and jellied. It really feels like there's been like a little sheet of gelatin has been added to it. It's got such a, not just thick, but thick and jellied. That's different from thick and oily. Because jellied still sort of, the jelly sort of melts in the mouth and becomes hydrating. But it is definitely soft, jellied, and thick. Taste is just starting to open up. Getting custard apples. The aftertaste has a very distinct tropical fruit guava note. There's a particular nuance of creamy to spiky in the guava note. It just has a certain terpene, I don't know what it is, that just pops out, but it takes time for it to pop out. You get this creaminess, and then boop, you get this little pop of tropical fruit from guava. The custard is there as well. Spiced custard, allspice custard, egg custard tarts with the nutmeg grated on top. It's got spice, it's got sweetness, it's got toffee, it's got creams. But then it's got, and it's seamlessly, there's a seamless marriage between that and then the brighter, toppier notes, slightly herbaceous. I'm getting like fennel fronds, fennel tops. So slight anise sweetness, fennelly sweetness. I'm getting meadow flowers. I'm getting that little white pepper piquancy of chrysanthemum, white chrysanthemum. So I'm getting the herbal, the flowery. I'm getting those. It even has a little touch, I wouldn't say bitterness, but you know, that brightness, that bracing nature that comes from like, yeah, from fresh herbs. Like if you took some fennel fronds and you just rip them and you bit them, or dill, and you bite it, it's got that little like rawness to it, but it's still developed enough. It's not raw grassy. It's more like raw herbaceous than grass. Really adds a certain brightness and toppiness to the whole affair. But then all these slates and I wouldn't say sea air so much, but yeah, like slight petrichor slate note. So in other words, what I'm saying is it's got this very unique interplay, which we've never had for a young Gushu before. It is very much on the extremely drinkable, very, very accessible raw tea. It doesn't have an aggression to it. It's soft and rounded, but then has enough of that high mountain, I'm in the clouds, herbaceous vibrancy that really makes you realize that this is springtime in a cup. Springtime high up in the mountains in a cup. And that is a criteria that we do select for young Gushu. Albeit, I would say this is definitely the more brighter end of the young Gushus. And when I say brighter, I don't mean raw and I don't mean bitter. I mean genuinely more flowery, more sweet and uplifting. The colour of the liquor continues to be very, very, very bright. Aftertaste starting to develop. Again, sweet. Elderflower, dill, oops, spilling on myself. Touch of TL or lemon verbena, one of the others, or one of the two. I sort of associate them very similar, sort of a lemony sweetness to it. Again, so like the color, so light, so bright, and yet so rich. It almost reminds me of a high mountain Taiwanese oolong, like pear cloud. It has that kind of level of lightness and brightness in the mouth. Like I feel like I'm in the clouds. I feel like I'm in the mist. It feels fresh. I would love to go visit Ganlongtan because I have a feeling that it's going to be an area which is going to have that slightly cooler quality to it than other places in Yunnan. Not to say one's better or worse, but it just will, I think, remind me a little bit more of those high mountain Taiwanese, the feeling in the air. But make no mistake of it, make no mistake about it, this is a raw pu'er. It has potency, it has verve, it has vibrancy, and it perfectly celebrates what we look to celebrate with young Gushu, which is the taste of drinking tea in the mountains. You can see how these leaves are smaller. They are noticeably more delicate than your average young Gushu. But key doesn't, normally when they're smaller, they have a bit more bitterness. This doesn't. This has a very lovely restraint in its mouthfeel. The mouthfeel is a little quench, a tiny touch of bitterness, moving to this cinnamon and then lemon verbena meadow flower sweetness. Extremely unusual. Honestly, not something that I've experienced before in a Maucha, which is why when I tasted it, it was like instantly, yes, this has so much character of what I want from a young Gushu, something that represents that freshness, but still, hopefully, and I'm pretty sure it will continue to develop and age and will change. And I would say store this in its pouch. You know, I would suck out all the air as much as possible from a pouch, seal it, maybe put a humidity pack of like 60% humidity pack if you feel like the humidity needs controlling, and it will change. It's not going to change the same as with cakes, but it will change for sure. All right, I'm going to smell this empty Gongdabe and then I'm going to roll through some infusions because I'm actually interested to see what the body sensation is on this. I haven't really done body sensation on this tea because when I sampled it before, it was mostly just to sort of approve it and just sort of get it ready. I'm shooting this before this is released, but I think I'm going to be releasing this after I'm shooting it. Everything's a bit crazy at the moment, but yes. What was I saying? I can't remember. Can't remember. Anyway. Ooh. Again, that soapy quality is there. If you've had like very flowery like soaps, maybe now we are moving into lilies. Like lily hand soap. And I'm seeing those orange melons, cantaloupe melons. It's also toffee there. Imagine you've taken cantaloupe melons and drizzled it with toffee, and you've washed your hands with lily soap, and you're sort of eating it, and you're getting that whole combination of flavors. Oh, that's right. I remember what I was saying. I haven't really tested the body sensation because I was approving lots of teas, so it's a sort of a mix. This is the first time I've really been able to sit down and have one full session. So I'm going to go away now and drink through another 3-4 infusions, and I'll come back with body sensation. Right. 5 infusions in, and before I talk about body sensation, one thing that has been very noticeable to me is how the mouthfeel has shifted and changed. Through 2nd, 3rd, 4th infusion, it has become oily and brothy in my mouth, which is something that I can't even recall any tea doing. Like, I know that teas have an oily mouth feel when it's in your mouth, but after swallowing, it leaves my mouth feeling like I've had like a very intense, not intense as in flavored, but a very brothy soup. Like it feels slightly savory, but like, yeah, like a soup that's had like chicken soup that's got like chicken fat in it. It's just got like, not that it tastes of chicken, but you know, it's got this oily quality, brothy and oily quality, which is very, very unusual. An extremely unusual tea. And the flavor profile is, I realize I had my collar up the whole time. Sorry about that. Wasn't trying to be cool, as you know. The flavor profile is again like this amazing hybrid where I'm getting so much brightness, so much liveliness, so many sweet notes, flowery notes, and then that Gushu ancient tree sweetness, that enduring toffee, spiced toffee sweetness just continues in the mouth. And it's sort of this combination of, like these wild forests, but then super bright, super high mountain, cloudy, misty, almost like sort of Eastern Chinese teas, like the green teas from the East or Taiwanese high mountain oolongs. I find this tea so interesting. It's so different from the other pu'ers I've ever tried. And I love it for its hybrid quality. Body sensation, awakening, brightening, lively, not head spinning, not tea drunk, I would say, but definitely has it's like somebody's put a fire on inside you, but put it on like an easy low simmer heat. You feel that effervescent rising quality to it. It's got an awakening energy. It's got a rewiring awakening energy. Sort of reminds me of that feeling of like, you know, you had your first, I don't know if you have coffee, like that first coffee of the day, that just rewiring, awakening, slightly warming energy burning inside you. But it's nothing that is overwhelming. And it certainly is something that is very tolerable, I think, to people who are even quite sensitive to these kinds of teas. And it suits the character. Bright, in the mountains, high up. 2,800 meters, head in the clouds, but you're still feet on the ground. Not a bad place to be. So there you go. Young Gushu 2024 from Ganlongtan village, high up in the mountains north of Linsang, which is already north of the more famed pu'er areas. A very, very, very worthy young Gushu 2024, and very different from the others. So I hope if you pick it up that you enjoy it for its uniqueness and individuality. And who knows, maybe Ganlongtan is going to be an area that we source from a lot in the future. That's it, tea heads. Check out other videos, taste our teas wherever you are in the world by browsing mayleaf.com, and come visit us if you're ever in London. Other than that, I'm Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being a part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from those tea bags. Keep drinking the good stuff and spread the word, because nobody deserves bad tea. Bye.